It's an organization that started here in the community in 1978 by two different groups of volunteers who got together over some really horrendous domestic violence murders who had happened in Taos and some sexual assaults of children and adults. And those two groups formed nonprofits, and the community groups came together to help the community get safe. Those two groups merged to become Community Against Violence. And so for 45 years, the organization has been grassroots begun and community-based nonprofit that serves survivors who are adults and children who are survivors of sexual assault, domestic violence, child abuse, elder abuse, human trafficking, and stalking. I started as a volunteer. I was working for a business here in Taos, and I wanted to find a way to get involved in my community. I had only lived here maybe 4 years, and I started volunteering at CAV, and it became everything to me. I just really loved the work that they were doing, and at that time there were only 5 staff, and I wanted to volunteer all my time. So outside of work, I was constantly wanting to just volunteer at CAV. So when a job became open, I applied for it, and I started working there in 1994, almost 30 years ago. I grew up in a home where there was domestic violence, and I and my siblings also experienced child abuse. I didn't know what those words were, so when I was looking for a place to give back to the community, I didn't realize that it was going to be that personal to me. And I was telling somebody that I went to a volunteer training, and the information that they shared just had a huge impact on me. And I just burst into tears, I was so embarrassed, burst into tears, and I couldn't believe that I had grown up in what was called domestic violence, because we didn't have words for that when we were growing up. Those things that happen to you as a child and that you witness as a child, you take them into your own body and your own mind, and you repeat those patterns often if you don't find other ways to learn to love. And so when I realized that that was what caused the damage in my family, and that it didn't have to be that way, that kids could have a different life path forward, and that people don't have to be abusive, and that people don't have to be abused, that there are options, I just wanted to make sure that there are other options out there, and that other people didn't wait until they were 30 years old to learn that they didn't have to live that way. I learned that I needed to find out who I was, and to be clear in what I would accept and not accept, and be clear in what I'd like to have happen. So, believe it or not, when I was a kid, I was painfully shy. I could barely say anything, and it was really hard to speak up for ourselves. And especially in a family, when you're afraid of a parent, you don't speak up very much. That sets us up for life and not speaking up. So in this work, I have to say that I grew up with some of my coworkers. It's like, yes, I was an adult when I came to it, but I also grew up. I grew up to be able to say, like, this is okay, this is not okay. This is what I want, this is my hope, this is my dream, and it's okay to go after it. So I got really strong, and I'm grateful to the community, and I'm grateful to CAV for that too.